My name is Christopher Whitaker. I am currently working for the Illinois Department of Employment Security at a field office in North Chicago. I'm most interested in collaboration because what I see on the street, there is only one thing that our office does, and we don't do anything else. So if someone comes up to me and asks, hey, I need medical insurance, I don't know where to send them. At the same time, there's all these things going on in Chicago with the city. You know, Metro Chicago contest, the open data portal, the cooperation kind of between the county and the city. But I don't see as much collaboration between the nonprofit sector and the state. And I feel that if everybody kind of got in the same room and started talking about what each other's needs and assets were, that we'd get a lot more stuff done. I'm also doing my thesis capstone at DePaul University regarding kind of building the data set for all of the things that are in Chicago, and then publishing that data so companies like Purple Blanket can use it and
There's like two tunnels of thought here. One has to do with providing the ability for people to find each other and organizations to find each other, and the other is providing the motivation for that to happen. There's a guy who's actually one of the people incubating his company here at Accelerate. I think it's Shortlist. So he goes to conferences, and through his app, you know how when you're on LinkedIn or Facebook it recommends people you should connect with? You go to a conference and they have everybody entered with all their data, and it pushes people at you through this app who you should meet. I want to do that in the city of Chicago.
They're trying it at Technori on Monday, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, these guys are?
Yeah, they're like doing a
I just don't know how you do it in Chicago because you don't have everyone's name and all their information.
I mean, I love that idea, but how? I mean, about the I forget what we're calling it, but is it the information bubble, or what is the thing where all this algorithmic story of what you should be interested in results in people's frame of reference being sort of set bubble, and that's a problem because then it's your own frame of reference.
Yeah, it's like Google giving you a different search than it gives me.
And people have been talking about this before the whole Google plus your world thing, but that's just like the most kind of single example of it. So either you need to algorithmically decide, I'm going to match people who traditionally would not, I wouldn't recommend, so I can sort of give you a new point of view, or I don't know, information, but just an important thing to be concerned about algorithmic matching. And it also goes down to human elements out of it. Sometimes it's like a human element will be like, your project really, oh my god, I know you need to talk to. Like they're not in the industry. No one would come across something, but they're perfect collaboration.
And one thing I would sort of find that I think sort of links what we're talking to in terms of ability and access and value, I think one thing that's so fascinating to me is Twitter. Because it's in some ways a way to have that conversation. You're just, and as someone who just started actually doing her own personal Twitter account for the first time after I've managed several others, like it's weird, you just throw things out and suddenly I'm having conversations with green tech people in San Francisco. I know nothing about green tech, but I'm interested in this space. And I'm meeting lawyers who are also in entrepreneurial space in New York who are having conversations. Like it's interesting, but again, there's still there's the information bubble, and then there's your own perception of what's interesting to you. And so how do you find a way to help people expand beyond even their own, I don't know.
I almost wish there was almost like a geek do-gooder problem where sort of a geek do-gooder problem where software developed for organizations and organizations that build these high-speed, high-tech tools invite people in the profit sector who may not necessarily think there's any use to talk to someone like that because they're in the trenches of their own little world trying to survive. Just sort of having the developers reach out to the smaller street level organizations and how to ask them out to this event in which they talk about different ways to work together. I think that would be one gimmicky way, memorable but gimmicky way to at least start conversations in some groups that perhaps aren't talking right now because they're in totally different places.
We tried.
Yeah. We wanted to do a matchmaking event for Chicago. I really wanted to tweet matchmaker, making an app. But anyway, I never got it up. but they don't get it. So what I think, I can't remember what we talked about.
Well, the trouble is finding people who are interested. I mean, the on the nonprofit side, there are about a million teachers online which are there's no way they're not
I've been looking.
And I think part of it is that selling point. How do you tell them for profit is help? How do you tell them? I mean, like you go to any business, and any business person finds nowadays, I need a website. I have to be online. I have to be able to get the user. But nonprofits are probably like, why do I need a website? Why do I need people to go online to make a judgment call about my organization? I want to be out there in the field or whatever. It's like, but people don't work that way. People, they go online right away to make a judgment call about who you are and how you present yourself.
I think the bigger issue is not that they don't have websites, it's that they have really old, non-functioning websites, and they can't justify the dollars because everything's going programmatic.
Well, also, the issue is they don't know what they're doing. I worked with a lot of nonprofits. I was out in AmeriCorps for 2 years. And I worked at a volunteer center out in the Northwest Suburbs, and they were in nonprofit center for KMTV. And I talked to a lot of organizations across the city. The biggest issue is that, especially from a technology standpoint, there's just not an awareness that, you can have this database that'll bring all your information together that you're collecting right now that would make your lives a lot easier. The problem is that they know what their problems are, but finding the connection between the issues that they're facing and the actual solution is really challenging. Taproot is great. I think it's
$1,000,000
no. But the problem is most organizations can't really write an application for Taproot.
I just talked to Goldie's Place the other day. They said they need a new website and they couldn't write the application. It's so cumbersome.
Most people can't write an application for a solution. So the real problem is even before so you can sit down with the tech person, but I don't think you're going to
collaboration thing. Like you need technology evangelists. So you need people who don't necessarily know how to build a website, but go in and put in a saying, I need a new website. That doesn't mean a million things. You need an e-com website, you need like a placeholder website, you need a blog, you need a website.
Part of the problem though too is like the expectations of the sectors are so different. So like being somebody who goes from working a lot in the like technology startup ad agency world and then going back into my small nonprofit world, I'll tell people in the nonprofit world that we've been around for 5 years and they're like, oh, that's great, call us in 10 years and then we can actually see what you did. In the startup world, they're like, you've been around for 5 years and this is all you've accomplished. So, on the technology side where it's all about, how fast you can iterate, just getting something out there and like having quick growth and turnaround, nonprofits aren't used to that. And so, I think on the one hand, while we're saying we need to drag nonprofits into this, I think we also, when we approach the tech people about how they can work with nonprofits, we need to set their expectations as well and say, so these are the problems that the nonprofits have. One, even though you're offering this to them for free now, they might have to take you up on it a year out because they need to go and find the funding to maintain it. So just because you approach them with a solution that can be done in that moment doesn't mean that they're going to have the person on staff right then who can actually work with you and support it and maintain it. And they may still want it. They may still really want it. And if we start closing these windows of opportunity so quickly, there's a lot of nonprofits out there who really want these services, but have to go through an entire funding cycle and an entire ask process in order to feel like they're doing their due diligence and being able to support it.
Actually, one of the reasons I didn't even jump on the problem question. It's really fun because what we're trying to build is we're not trying to find partners who are right at this instant for all the reasons you just said. We're just trying to find people to call, the people who that they know that they can call and find funding or they've got something interested in. So I feel like the social network might be an important thing to start with, not necessarily like we're going to solve these problems.
And the one thing that I know that we talked about, we sort of said that if we were to do a matchmaking or a prompt, or the way to do it is it goes back to your evangelist. You get emissaries from their world that get it as the hook to draw them in. And we were going to separate them out and have sessions before and have someone from a nonprofit who could show, okay, so I use this website, it was like X amount or it was free or whatever, and look how much more fundraising dollars I got out of it. Look how much I was able to use my data for proposals. Look how much easier, look how much time I saved. look how much easier it is to report for all of these, like, you know, so they could contextualize and at the same time have a tech person that's worked with nonprofits that can put it in the sense. Number one, the conversation's got to be different first. Like, I've learned a lot through this world about agile programming and the different ways people think, and like, so preparing developers both to the value of working with nonprofits, but also how to build that conversation. And I think then you can put them together. I don't know. I think that's
so. There's this is a conversation I've had so many times because a year ago, maybe two years ago, at Social Dev Camp, there was a panel about nonprofit hackathons, you know, trying to build websites for nonprofits. And Pete Marano, who was running that panel, came to me afterwards and said, nonprofits should have, like corporations have, they have this tech department that continually is providing them, you know, before, during, and after. And hackathons provide a quick website. Nobody's there beforehand finding out what they need. Nobody's there afterwards. So all these nonprofits that have had websites built are sitting there with websites that they don't know how to access them. And then the bigger, so a group of about 10 of us started meeting. And we created the design and what we wanted to do because from Pete's perspective, a lot of coders are not going to do this for nothing. It's not going to be a free deal. There are coders who will, but one of the biggest obstacles is, and I could give you so many examples that that's a problem. Someone today said to me one of the biggest obstacles is getting, you know, they may understand what's available pro bono, but they don't have the person, as you were saying, to implement it. So we created this whole concept that was going to provide an incentive for techies and project management, and the idea being that if you're a techie in Chicago and you're trying to get a job, if your profile isn't there, then you're at a disadvantage because everybody else in town is there. And we like ran out of steam. We just totally ran out of steam. We were all doing this, you know, just in our free time. We got it for 6 or 8 months. And we ran out of energy. It was like herding cats after a while. We couldn't get together anymore. But the idea was, from what I'm hearing even more so, exactly what needs to happen is there has to be an incentive and there has to be a connection made between the tech community and the nonprofits. And we understood because of the group that we had to be a really low barrier of access for the nonprofit. There had to be a lot of handholding for them, a lot of interpretation, and not a lot of them trying to figure things out. So we are walking them through the process, and it's very low time on their part. And for the techies, it was fun, it was game, it was competitive, it was, and there was, you know, there was ways to break everything into the smallest possible unit. So if a techie bails on you, someone else can jump right in and do it. And I'm so frustrated because I can't tell you the number of nonprofits who come to me and say, we need it. And there's a million resources, but they don't know about it. They don't know about it. Hands-on Tech Chicago has been doing that for 2 months here now. They did an assessment. They did a few things. They did workshops and seminars, but they also went through a process of selecting, and I think they chose 33 nonprofits.
Keep putting down my water, not knowing which one it is.
Oh God.
So they've started that process, and they probably have a database that we can work off of, and I referred them to IC Stars, so IC Stars is doing some of their project work, and IC Stars, the person who's working with them, very picky. These guys are crashing, they're awesome. I would guess they have a really good start to a database that we can start using if we wanted to create something like that. We've been doing it.
That's from, I work with, it used to be called the Volunteer Center.
Yes, Chicago Cares would post them, so they're
That
out.
was my, that's my first nonprofit.
Yeah, they're great.
But my one thought I have here is, I think a lot of these things are in the works, a lot of these solutions. And I think essentially the biggest problem here is kind of a culture shift that needs to happen in nonprofits. That's one thing I like, that a lot of the people from the city say they're talking about open data, like their biggest challenge is dealing with people from the city, getting them to look to have more of a, not tech focus, but more of a consciousness of, you know, turning into more data-driven culture, looking at that kind of stuff. So my thought would be, I mean, having these tools that really mobilize people is useful, but if you focus, you kind of narrow down your focus, I think, executive directors of nonprofits, getting them in a room with people who are maybe executive level technology people or entrepreneurs, and sort of getting them to connect on that level could sort of help with these culture shifts, because then you don't even have to have the foundations be the ones incentivizing them. at least this is my experience, I know, because I've talked to a lot of EDs, they're skeptical of technology because they've had a lot of these things where, yeah, we get the one-off pro bono thing, it doesn't help us, or they've had to chase grants which involve technology, which winds up where they have to have a whole new program that's sort of tangential to their mission that they're now stuck supporting. So I think it's sort of facilitating a deeper conversation with EDs, because then, I mean, you could get, I guess this is maybe the trickle-down approach as opposed to the grassroots approach. But, I mean, that's one thing that I think I haven't heard of. I mean, and we do, I mean, there's lots of nonprofit people get together, but they're usually people who are, more on the services level, or, like I'm a communications coordinator, how much change can I cause in my organization? Some, but it'd be a lot easier if my ED got this bug in their ears, like, maybe we do need to, like, take a look at it.
The other thing to think about, as siloed as Chicago is, the nonprofit sector is really siloed. You've got the Red Crosses and the United Way and big orgs like that are really big ships that are hard to turn around. And for those orgs, it makes sense to be with the executive director, because that's how you're going to make things happen at that time. But it goes all the way from that, all the way down to the one-person little grassroots in the neighborhood kind of nonprofit, and every gradation between. And so I don't think we can come up with one prescription that's going to work, because there are plenty of nonprofits that are one or two people. They're not even going to take the time for that. They don't have time for it. They just can't be bothered. They got to do what they're doing. So I think we almost have to address it as separate problems based on the sector.
I think from both of those standpoints, it's a matter of saying, coming in and saying, this is how, technology, whatever you want to call it, IT department, technology, applications, this is how it plays towards your strategy. This is how, you can go and instead of working with a clipboard, going door to door, checking off names, you can have an iPad and an app, and you can be interacting with the data right there as the person's telling you, what their needs are and with the organization.
I would argue that, and Katie knows better than anyone, that Twitter's a perfect example. And this was talking about Twitter to them, and believe me, I was talking to somebody yesterday and being like, you have to have Twitter. I was set up there. Here's all the people I met. And you have to show them a real example of how it worked for someone that they could identify with, and nonprofit silo themselves, and the small one, they're nothing like the Red Cross. So there's that, but I think Twitter is now like a driver for nonprofit, and some of them are slow, and they really use it. So are there things from how that
Well, part of me also, go ahead, Kate.
I mean, what you guys are both saying about the trickle down and the bottom up, I mean, that's just a classic change management problem. I mean, I'm a change management professional. I worked with Walmart a couple of years ago for their environmental programs. We had to that was really fun. So we had to do this whole set of stuff with the top brass, and then we did a completely different set of stuff with the people at the bottom. Like, there's no
understand what, from their perspective, how this is going to help them get what they need to get done.
Yeah, so, I mean, there's different ways to motivate those groups. There's different ways to approach it. So I mean, if you think about it in terms of like a change management project, then you just build in different streams, and you don't have to worry about picking one.
So maybe part of that stream is you start with the willing, and you don't even talk to the ones who
you always start with
start with the willing and build in that core.
You need the success stories early, and that's why I actually think fixing the internal tech CRM stuff, like, I feel like that can wait. That could be a very big problem. I feel like you can tackle a project and be like, see, if we just built this really cool thing, and then it's like,
that's the other aspect of sort of the collaboration. One of the things I put up there was like an app showcase. So you sort of say, okay, I built this is how they're using it. Now how can I showcase this to other people to say, this is either something that might be useful to you as an app, or these are the people who built it who might be useful to you to be able to do what you need.
And there's a big distinction too that I think we need to understand where you can have a website or components of your website that are the communications and marketing side, but you can also have them where they are programmatic, where they are part of your core abilities. So, with us, for instance, our website is where our catalog is hosted. Our catalog is one of our core abilities. So that also changes the way that nonprofits, some of them, if you kind of like bring the idea of technology to them in a way where they can make it part of their programs or part of their program budget rather than part of their marketing or communications budget,
it's actually going to make it easier for them to go and seek funding because you give them the tools to market with your funders. That, no, my website's not a supplement. It's not, just gathering donors. It's actually a legit program.
Can I throw a kink out? One of the things I also think is important and sort of a different angle. We need nonprofits talking to each other, and they're not talking to each other. So I was at a volunteer fair one time. I was helping bring in nonprofits, and I ignored the volunteers. I wanted to talk to all the organizations. And my frustration was, at one part of the room is a West Side baseball league for little kids. On the other side of the room is a nonprofit that does literacy. Same neighborhood, same kids. They've never heard of each other. Guess how much more fun baseball, and the literacy thing is if it's tied into your baseball. You now have two organizations working together, both providing really great important services. But they're doing it, and the whole, to get all the organizations that are dealing with the same issues on the same page talking to each other, to me, that's a really, really cool thing if we could ever figure out how to do that.
Well, one of the things that government agencies have at its disposal is there's a kind of on its own, it's a website called GovLoop, and where all these government people from the federal side, from the states, from cities, they all join GovLoop, and where they blog about, this is what I'm doing, these are the tools that I'm doing, oh hey look, this is what project I've done, and it sort of provides for collaboration. And as you look through kind of the GovLoop members directory, you can find just someone at every level of government and sort of every spot of government, so that when someone has an issue, they have a community to go back to and say, hey, what have you done on this issue? I don't know if there is a similar site that does the same things for nonprofits.
There's Idealist, but nonprofits aren't using it.
Idealist isn't really because there's no blogging aspect to Idealist.
Well, there is, but it's not great.
I didn't go there once until yesterday.
Sorry, what was the website you're
GovLoop.com.
So the one thing I sort of thought of, and it builds in some of the things, and it may have been already done, but it builds in some of the things we touched on, such as needing an incentive. Are you guys familiar with sort of the OSOE that they're starting? It's this whole idea of exchanging drills because you're only going to use it once. But what if it was sort of like a service exchange? Like I talked to you about nonprofits and just having people and have like a nonprofit and a for-profit an opportunity to blog, opportunity to communicate with this idea that you might be able to have something that's doing what you need, that you can offer them something in return, and you can both get something out of it.
Two big tech company. It was Groupon. It was Groupon and somebody else local. They had a talent exchange where somebody from one company went to another company for a week. And then what if we could set that up between nonprofits and between nonprofits and for-profits?
Nonprofit and for-profit.
Yes.
There are nonprofits that do that at some level, nonprofits. But they're both channels are.
So,
I think that people would use the idea of changing skills.
And hopefully the for-profit to get something out of it too. It's too often it's seen as a one-way transaction.
They can just do it. This is our corporate responsibility. I mean, to get companies to do good, you have to sort of tap into this idea. I mean, yes, you can either say, here's what you're going to get from it, it's actually worth something, or here's what you can tell people you're involved in, and they feel good about it.
I will tell you that one of the things that companies are just really starting to talk about a lot is training and education and leadership development. Nonprofits have that market corner. We've known how to do that for a very long time. And companies are really spending a lot of time and energy developing and creating that. You bring some nonprofit people in, and holy smoke.
And also, what better way, for a big company, if I'm a huge trillion-dollar company, and I want so-and-so to really learn project management, really get those skills, really a team, but there's no way I'm putting him on this $1 million thing until he does it. Why not give it to the nonprofit that really needs somebody to totally overhaul their business? The training for them is advantage for the nonprofit. I mean, what better way to let me example? I mean, from the nonprofit, that's someone offers me free stuff. I'm like, I mean, one second, but I think that could be an incentive.
I love this expression. You're looking at
No, this is great. I've been ideating over here, and I want to ask questions about certain things, but at some point it's like it seems like there's a lot of strategies about how to solve a specific problem, but it's still how do you get to that conversation point? And I was going to ask a question, right? as a nonprofit, as an organization, what if there was a place that you went to that guaranteed you an hour of like a developer or a tech person's time, and that database was filled by people who are willing to contribute an hour of their time?
There is something like that.
So I was thinking something like You Need a Geek or something like that. That's like a one thing. You go right to it, and Scott's been very quiet. He's been kind of quiet, and I think it's out of nervousness because when it comes to like people asking about for free work or pro bono, there's this fear it's called scope creep, and you have a lot of problems, and we totally get that. But if it was something that was like, hey, developers, would you be willing to give an hour of your time to a nonprofit? Sure, sign me up. And then the nonprofit say, hey, I want an hour of time. Can I go there and do that? And you talk just in one paragraph about what you're looking to do, and the developers can kind of see what's happening there. What are the
Are there enough developers that would be willing to do that?
If you promised me you only wanted an hour of my time and you wanted to listen to what I had to say, I would.
And what do we do in an hour?
It's lead gen, right?
You talk just like this.
So if you do decide to do this project, then come to my firm or come hire me.
Exactly. See,
There's something in the works. Like I was at the independent sector conference, and there was a guy. It was from Craigslist Foundation or something. Yeah, and he was closed. So maybe it's not, but it was basically this idea of doing a sort of Craigslist model thing for innovative projects, both on the nonprofit and sort of people could sort of post, sort of like what you were saying with government, so people could post, people could find needs, and it's similar. And
we have Zealous Good here, which is
like physical now.
Yeah, but what she does, and the concept is working. She finds nonprofits who need things, and then she finds people who provide those things. So, for example, IC Stars needed chairs. She found a company that was trying to get rid of chairs. They happened to be one door down from IC Stars coincidentally. They never would have found each other. They were next door neighbors on the street, and she connects them. And if we could do that, but I think it's still. I think it's more than just connecting to that.
Yeah, I don't. We're kind of like back to the pro bono work aspect of this. I really think social is where it needs to be. That you need to have these conversations without necessarily having a specific end in mind, because then you can actually have the conversations, and later on maybe something will throw it off.
Right. It gets back to that question of so why do you need this? You scoped out a component. Why do you need it? Why do you? What are you trying to drive at? Where do you get
I'd rather
that?
see a meetup instead of like a database, because we also have one of those across from Chicago. It's fine, it worked a little bit, but like I feel like just getting the right people to meet together and giving them some beer and letting them talk for an hour or two.
We're going to keep doing this once a month. This conversation is going to continue once a month.
Is there going to be beer?
The problem I have with my meetup is I don't hear about it. So if it's something that's like, okay, Stephen, you're a developer, you actually care, you give a shit, right? What if you just went and said, hey, I wanna go join this, I want to give an hour of my time to somebody. I don't care who, I just like to be notified about it. And you guys can continue to put in your information and say, I want to talk to a developer for an hour. I get an email that says someone's interested, and maybe it goes to a meetup next.
Well, but let me spin that a little bit differently, which is, so I'm a developer, right? And it's sort of this idea of cross-pollinating. I know other developers, I know other designers. How do I talk them into coming with me, so that I can communicate to them and say, hey, come to this interesting event, and then they get hooked and they're like, okay, I can see something I can do.
But you gotta know about it first. You can't necessarily find a tool that's going to solve all of those communication problems. But if you knew about it and you knew your buddies, you would tell them about it.
Yes, but the fact that I'm here already sort of says I'm connected to, I'm transcendentally connected to this community. So how can I take that next step?
How'd you hear about this?
How did I hear about this? Because I've been involved in a meetup group in Chicago called Open Chicago. And they have meetings once a month, and it was, hey, Code for America guys came to last meeting, and it was not just a matter of what is Code for America doing for the city of Chicago, it was also a matter of, hey, we're doing this event, and we'll be sending out emails if you're interested about when to sign up.
Is it that new service? What is it? It's like meeting with strangers. What is it? Open office? Office hours?
Scrub with us.
That's what it's all. It's a bunch of people who don't know each other, and they all sign up.
There's a couple of those across the table.
So the point point I'm making is we talked earlier about like if you have people sign up and say like I'm a developer, I'm a designer, I'm a communications strategist, I'm a change management professional, and you have
Interesting dinner parties.
a person be like I need to